We are here for a live speaking event at Goldbar, Miami. Come check it out.
The next panel is a panel I'm extremely excited to be moderating. And the reason for that is this is a once-in-a-lifetime panel.
You know, when you partner with somebody or you're doing a project, usually there's somebody with an ego.
Are you offering buyer's agent commission? And if so, what
Good question.
is the commission?
We never let a deal go away, so you bring it to us, we'll work it out.
A lot of expensive homes on the market, but they don't check all the boxes.
We're talking about the most expensive listing for a new construction home in the United States of America. Okay, so when Ashley called me and she told me that we are going to be doing a panel on a $285 million listing, I didn't know this was a thing. So for me, it was a matter of like, are you kidding me? Like, is this real? Is this under construction? What's going on? And she's like, Juan, they're going to break a record. So I'm just gonna give everyone a little bit of context. We have Nick here, who is the broker.
Nick Malinosky, senior partner and co-founder of the exclusive group at Douglas Elliman. Over $8 billion sold in luxury sales.
Mark on the design side.
Mark Tremblay, president of Mark Michael's Interior Design, is renowned for crafting breathtaking, high-end interiors.
Stewart from the investment standpoint.
Stewart Sitter is a powerhouse entrepreneur and former mayor of Manalapan, renowned for his bold vision and transformative leadership.
And then Robert on the development.
Former Marine Robert William Burrage is the visionary force behind RWB Construction Management, Inc.
Is that about right? Close. Okay. I'm gonna let you guys educate everyone on who you are, how you got involved in this project. Who came up with this concept? Was it your idea, or how did everything come to be?
You know, so I've built a number of houses in Manalapan, exclusive in Manalapan, and this was an extraordinary property, unlike any other property in South Florida, 350 feet ocean-to-coastal. And the plan was to create a extraordinary, once-in-a-lifetime estate that seamlessly integrated the ocean and the intercoastal, and I think we achieved that. You saw the pictures. Looks like it's already built, right? And I've had a lot of friends who said they want to come down and visit with me and walk the house. So I knew that the images are pretty extraordinary.
The renderings are so good. I've had multiple people tell me, wow, like, was this actually constructed already? It's under construction at the moment. What's the timeline like? What are we looking at?
Yeah, well, we haven't actually broken ground yet. We're kind of, anticipating that'll happen sometime in the future, but we've had some interest in the property, and we're going to evaluate that interest and make a decision what to do down the road, obviously.
Perfect. And then when you went ahead and did you pick the land ahead of time? Did the deal come across your plate? Like, how did this actually start?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting story. I actually had a bite at this land about 3 different times and finally pulled the trigger this time. And it became available at the right price. I'm an opportunistic buyer. All of you people know that that's important. When you build a house, you have to buy it opportunistically. So we bought it very right, and we're very excited to move forward and build the house.
Amazing. And then how did you assemble the team between Nick and Robert and Mark?
Well, this is a team I've been with for a long time. Robert and I have worked together, built a half a dozen houses in Manalapan. And I've worked with Nick and Mark from Mark Michael's Interior Design has done all our work over the years. So you talk about a team, and it's all about putting the right team together. And this is my team that's been with me for a long time.
I love it. So Robert, Stewart comes to you and he's like, hey, I want to develop the most expensive property in the country. How do you look at it from the contractor standpoint?
So I think the important part is the team, right? That's why you guys started today. It's what Stewart was just talking about. What does that team look like for this project, and who is it going to take to accomplish that? From the architect, the designer, the real estate broker. We really had an interesting opportunity to take everyone that is top tier in the industry and build them and put them together on this project.
Amazing. And then do you have experience when it comes to building these type of homes? Like, is that your specialty? Like what does that look like?
So, before COVID, we were probably 50% spec, 50% custom to suit. And, I would say post-COVID, and even Stewart and myself had a project that it was going to be a spec, but, it sold before we broke ground. And candidly, we kind of anticipate that for this project also. But right now we are custom to suit this is our only spec going on.
Amazing. And then just to clarify with the audience, they're building the property with no end user in mind, right? Do you have a buyer lined up for this, or are you expecting to market it and then go ahead and sell it?
I think it's obvious that we targeted a very specific market. The number represents that. But there is no owner in mind, but that's fairly typical in a spec.
Amazing. Nick, I'll take it over to you. You have the luxury of being able to sell this project. What's your marketing strategy like? How do you go ahead and present this to the public?
I think with such a unique opportunity, you really have to sort of take a step back, I think, and this goes for this property, but in general, any new construction property like this. So we really had to, back to the team, of course, we had to assemble the team, and we hired a specific marketing team, new development team. Everything was sought out. I mean, this was well thought out, and we also had a timeline and a plan. So part of that is just really doing the groundwork before we even got close to launching it. So, the major thing is doing that groundwork and getting the certain players in place prior. So that was a major thing we did. And each player played a major role. Designer, architect, developer. We all had a role, and from start to finish, we executed. So it goes back to that team and getting organized. And also, I would say, it's important to sort of think about, what are we selling? Is it a $285 million home? Is it a $5 million home? What are we actually doing? And I think once you figure out what the end result is, then you can sort of work backwards. So I think rather than just, going on the shoot and listing the property, spend a little time and think of how you're going to get there first.
Who's the ideal buyer for this property?
Actually, we've been a little surprised at the amount of activity.
A rich person.
Yeah, someone very wealthy.
Uber wealthy person.
What we found is a lot of these buyers in today's market, there's a lot of expensive homes on the market, but they don't check all the boxes. And whether it's 80 million, 100 million, whatever it is, that's still a lot of money. And if you're going to spend that kind of money, you want to make sure it's perfect. So we found sort of a gap within the market, and we want to fill that gap with this property. So so far, the feedback's been absolutely incredible. And I've actually been a little shocked myself at the amount of people and inquiries we're getting for a $285 million listing.
Now, in regards to marketing the property, what are the major outlets you're using? Are you using like traditional type marketing where you're going to major news outlets and magazines and things like that, or are you being more strategic and doing more off-market type and things of that nature? Like what's your approach there?
I would say, the off-market approach is always a good approach depending on what you have. For this property in general, off-market wasn't going to work. Typically, you have one shot at that buyer, so we needed to get everything dialed in. Renderings, architectural, everything is 110% dialed in. So when that buyer, shows up, we have every question answered. So we took the approach of getting the website. We built a website for the property. We had renderings done. We could have spent, X on renderings. We probably spent 10 times that on each rendering. As you mentioned earlier, half the people think the property's already built. So we went with a full market press, which has proven so far to be very successful. And our big push was the PR push, which was incredible. I think the Wall Street Journal was the first to drop it.
Yeah.
And every single day we've been getting new exposure. It's been one of the most unbelievable experiences we've been a part of. And that's done the majority of the marketing for us. And then, of course, connecting with our local brokers that have those buyers.
Amazing. And then from the design perspective, Mark, you obviously played a huge role in this. How do you design a house for possibly the most expensive listing in the country? Like, does that come from scratch, or is it inspiration?
It's all from scratch. Very exciting opportunity. And we've been doing multi-million-dollar specs for over 30 years. So this is not anything new. This is probably the highest, most expensive one that we've ever done. But again, I think anyone looking at this property is looking for a home, and we know how to create a home. And so these big volume spaces that are almost commercial oriented, you need to warm them up and make them feel very comfortable when they walk in. And again, a lot of our clients, we have repeat clients that, we do a home every 5 to 7 years. And they do that because their friend just bought another house, and that's better than the last one. And so they want another house that's better than the last one. So the change just keeps going, because it's just like, as in fashion, their home is fashion and they want to be current.
And then now at the 9-figure price range, which is what this is, how do the, custom finishes change, or are there any design requests that you're seeing? How does this differ from your typical 10, 20, 30, $40 million property?
Size is really probably going to add to the cost of this house because of the volume of space. We're still, if it's a $100 million house, it's still pretty much the same finishes. I mean, it's how you execute them, how you put them together. We do a lot of interior detailing in the space, so how the walls are executed, the ceilings, and especially like if you got a 24-foot ceiling, how do you make that room feel good?
Yeah.
So you got to walk in, you got to like, how does the architecture really embrace the space? And the views. So you got to look at the ceiling, what's the light fixture? The light fixture has to be huge and it's got to be glamorous. You know, when someone walks into this house, there's got to be a wow factor. And that's what we do.
Amazing. Now I'm going to take it back over.
Mark,
Yeah.
Mark is very good at making that shooting range very fashionable in the bowling alley and all.
Where is the shooting range going? Is it underground?
Yeah, it's going to the low level.
Low.
A little sound
the question everyone's
deadening.
thinking, how do you build an underground shooting range right on the water? Yeah. What's that process like?
So that area, subterranean, is very common. So almost every house on the entire strip of Manalapan, Florida, has a lower level, which at least 50% of it is subterranean. So it's very common.
Cool. The property has a bowling alley, pool, gun range, you name it, it has it. It's one of the most spectacular homes that you'll ever see if you want to go check it out online. What is the next 6 months look like for you guys from each one of your perspectives in each role as owner, contractor, designer, and broker?
Well, the next 6 months is really we're meeting with potential buyers and understanding what they're looking for and maybe collaborating with them to build a house. Because it'd be unlikely that we would just build it. Like typically we build spec houses, we get it completely done. We've done it a half a dozen times in Manalapan. Towels are in the closet, wine is in the wine room. It's turnkey. So this is going to be a little different, probably given the scale of the house. So we're trying to gather more information from people who are looking at it, make it a little easier for Mark and others.
Amazing.
And easier for all of you when you go to sell it.
And then is there any sustainability or technology that makes this house different from the rest?
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna defer to Robert on the sustainability, but I can't really talk about the security because there's a lot of security features in the house. Obviously, we don't want to talk about that. And certainly, all smart technology in the house. Every house we have built to date has an expansive amount of smart technology and sustainability. We work with the town, DEP, and everything else in terms of water retention and things like that. But other than that, whatever the code requires, certainly we meet all those code requirements.
Amazing.
I was the former mayor in Manalapan, so I have to toe the line in town and do everything right, extra right. So.
And the speed at which you build the permit, everything just from start to finish, extremely impressive. Like any recommendations for people in the crowd that want to understand from a new construction perspective, what's the fastest way to do this with the team and assembling everything?
Yeah, just do it right. That's what you have to do. The Manalapan is very, we're builder friendly. I'm the chair of the Architectural Commission now. I have to recuse myself from this house, obviously, but the town is very pro-development, smart development. We have some beautiful homes that are in Manalapan, obviously, and given the exclusivity of the town and the small nature of the town, we have some beautiful homes that are actually going up in town right now.
Amazing.
Yeah, cool. It is an amazing place. It's a very special place. That's why we wanted to build a very special house.
Yeah,
and I think
for a very special buyer.
Yeah, for a very special buyer, absolutely.
And Robert, what's your biggest challenge when it comes to actually developing and building this?
The biggest challenge of these projects is, trying to forecast what the end user is going to want. And I think what's happened post-COVID, and even another project that Stewart and I worked on, in the pre-sale of speculations, we're not breaking ground, and we're seeing that more and more on the largest dollar items. Forecasting what they're going to want, what they're going to need, the finishes they're going to want, but that all comes from building the right team. There really is no challenges if you've put the right team together. If you're working with a contractor that constantly butts heads with the building department, it answers your question right there. You're going to have a harder time pulling a permit. You need to work with a team that understands that everyone collectively within your own team, outside of your team, the building departments, everyone needs to be part of the project.
Correct. It's a team effort. Nick, how can these brokers go out there and find you a buyer? Where would you recommend they look? What is the best process to bring you someone for something this unique?
Yeah, I think, just the property itself is a starting point. Another thing I found odd is many of the brokers that we've been speaking with are brokers that I've never met before. So I would say also, I think about 50% of our inquiries are international. When we work in Palm Beach County, so we're not a huge international buyer market like Fort Lauderdale or Miami, but this has attracted a lot of international interest. And I've spoken to a lot of brokers that you wouldn't expect to have a buyer, but they've reached out to somebody and said, hey, I just want to let you know this is an amazing opportunity and here's why. And I could tell you that a few brokers did that and have started the conversation where them themselves would never even think this would be happening, but they reached out to that overseas client and we're currently working with them. So I think, share the opportunity, and this just doesn't only go for our property, it's everything. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've done business from just sharing, a new property and commenting on it and really just connecting with the broker and buyer community. So I would not be shy. I would share it, let people know. And like I said, whether it's this property or anything else, I think it's good to just get the information out there, and you never know where that buyer's going to come from.
Amazing. And then from the broker perspective, how did you assemble this team? How did you guys come together? How did you put that together on that side?
As far as that goes, we all sort of knew each other. I was involved with the land sale prior to the acquisition.
Got it. Okay.
And back to the team thing, it's I think an important, maybe the most important aspect of this whole sort of collaboration is ego. We've all worked on projects before. All the brokers have. When you partner with somebody or you're doing a project, usually there's somebody with an ego. It doesn't work. You have to play your part. You have to play your role and understand why you're there. I know my position. Mark knows his. We all have that specific role. And, sometimes it's tough, other times it's great, but you really have to drop the ego and fight for the common goal, which this team did, and it's worked out great. And I would also say, depending on whatever project you're working on, figure out what team works for that project. So, for instance, when I was coming up in the business and I was a little bit inexperienced, I would go get the best agent in that area and say, I've got a great contact, they love me, they want to work with me, but I'm really not qualified for that deal. Would you do it with me? And here's how we're going to do it. And I've been very successful by doing that. So I would say collaborate and lose the ego.
I think that's a big thing that I've received maybe 4 or 5 times today. I have a $5, $10, $15 million listing. I don't have the experience, the track record, the confidence. What should I do? And I give them the same advice. Go partner with the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 agent in that entire market. Co-list it with them, get your foot through the door, and it's just such a great way to break in.
Totally. And one thing we had to do with this project is, we all have our connections and our friends and people that we want to get involved with it, but they may not be the best fit. So you have to make the hard decision to say, hey, we're going to go hire Gladstone and, out of Canada to do our marketing and market this like a Four Seasons or a Ritz-Carlton and bring in the big guns and spend a lot of money and treat this like a brand new development. So you really have to, you have to make the right decisions and understand what you're selling.
Amazing. And I do want to get into Q&A because I think a lot of people have a lot of questions in regards to this project. Before we do, Mark, do you want to actually talk about the design, the square footage, the way it's laid out, so they can get a good artistic idea of what this potential is actually like?
The house is big. Lots of room. It can be anything you want it to be. We try to create kind of the newest and latest trends and what people expect out of a house. I mean, this I think would be our 3rd gun range. We've done probably 5 bowling alleys. I mean, it's becoming more and more popular. I think the key parts of the house too is, since COVID, chef kitchens are really becoming an absolute must. I mean, they want the extra storage for refrigeration, freezers. I mean, we're doing so many walk-in refrigerators, walk-in freezers now because everyone's ready for the next, whatever that may be. So, and then also spas, hair salons, nail techs, massage rooms, steam rooms, gym experience. All of those retreats are also becoming very, important to a lot of our clients. Our clients are high net worth, power people. They, not only are they successful in business, they're probably working out a lot, and so it all parallels to how they live. So including those elements are turning to be one of the must-haves for houses of this size. When we start a house like this, I mean, again, we're so new in the development side, so we really look at blending a lot of more of the neutral backgrounds. So if an end user comes in and says, oh, I really love purple, where can we do that? You don't have to, start over on some of the main items. You can add those things down the road. So, but again, a lot of it is, it's not so much the expense of the material, it's how it all comes together. With us, we have a whole interior architectural team that actually addresses all of the backgrounds. And I think we're pretty different than most firms. I mean, there's a lot of decorating firms out there, which are great. They know furniture, they know fabrics, but you really need to have a backdrop. And we travel the world. I mean, the owners of our company travel. I travel a lot, and we see so many different things. And we bring that back to the table. And we're a staff of 65 people, so we have a lot of energy and cross design happening in our studio. So somebody may say, oh, I saw this when I was in Italy, and I saw this, when I was in Miami. It all comes together, and it only makes the projects better. I think sometimes people think, you have to have this one magical person. I'm not that one magical person. There's 65 people behind me that make it happen. So again, the development side of creating these interiors is, you need to create a wow factor. And it's amazing too, the husbands are really directing the train on design, and 90% of them look for us to create it. So some have their ideas, but most times they're like, how do we make this spectacular? And I also think too, having all of these renderings really makes people understand how to identify with the spaces, because looking at a plan, most people don't even know, God, is that big enough? And it's like, yeah, that's a ballroom. But you can't tell, we know what it looks like, they don't. So adding those elements in really helps them identify the spatial relationships per room.
It helps them paint the vision. I love it. Let's open up to Q&A. Do we have mics, or do we have to grab one from here? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. We have 2 or 3 questions. We'll do Rachel right here.
Thank you. I'm Rachel Worrell. I'm over in Panama City Beach, 30A. So I'm going to ask you guys, I would say it's questions probably everyone wants to know. Hardball, so let's see if you guys answer. What was the price of the land acquisition? Because I know you said that you helped on that end. How much all in are you guys on marketing? Are you offering buyer's agent commission? And if so, what
The question.
is the commission?
We never let a deal go away, so you bring it to us, we'll work it out. So
Do you have a number in mind?
I do not. You bring me the number, then I'll have a number in mind.
That's what I say. When it's my listing, I'm like, write up an offer. We'll talk about it. Okay.
Exactly.
Land acquisition?
Public record, I paid $27.5 million for the dirt.
How much land?
It's 4.5 acres, 350 feet of oceanfront and intercoastal on Ocean Drive. I can't find it anywhere at any price. Shelley Newman has one down the street. This is 1960 South Ocean Drive in Manalapan, 6.5 miles down the street in Palm Beach. Shelley Newman has at 1980 South Ocean. She's asking $200 million for the dirt.
Yeah.
Just dirt.
Yeah.
And it's a very inferior, I love Shelley. Shelley's not here. I love Shelley, but it's an inferior piece of dirt compared to 1960 South Ocean Blvd.
So what made you guys decide to go residential instead of commercial on this project?
I would love to go commercial, but the Manalapan zoning doesn't allow commercial, so it's only residential on Ocean Drive there.
Okay.
Yeah. And we happen to be public record next to Larry Ellison, the world's richest man
And do you have a timeline on when this will be ready to?
I do not. We do not have a timeline.
Okay.
I'm under no pressure to start construction. We're going to take our time and evaluate potential buyers. Nick's been talking to all different people, and we'll collaborate with anyone you bring to us.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Good question.
Good. All right. What was your process on risk analysis for a project of this magnitude? What did those discussions look like internally, and how did you gauge that with this price point?
I mean, I've done this several times, not to this extent at $285 million, but we've with this team, we've been very successful at selling a number of 30, 40, and $50 million houses, some of them at record-breaking prices in Manalapan. So risk analysis is pretty straightforward for me. You know, I don't look at the upside, I look at the downside. My own money, I don't have that much risk. This isn't my real business. My real business was another business that I built for 30 years. That's a whole nother story. But this is kind of my passionate hobby, so I love doing this. And I think we bought the land right. So we're I don't buy land unless I buy it right. I'm sorry? Yeah.
Real quick, just to go back to your question, I think it's important to think about when we talk about price and value. So Robert is, you know, he's built many $100+ million homes. I think when we sort of back into it, if you look at, you know, 50,000 square feet, and some of these owners will spend they're spending $3,000 a square foot now. You know, either way, they're well above $100 million. So it's the nature of the 50,000+ square feet of one of the most insane homes that exist gets that number up to that price point. So when buyers start looking into it, they sort of understand, well, you know, if I were to do this myself, I'm at $150 million for the house. I've got to buy the land. I've got to put it together. I've got to find the architect, the builder. We're making it easy for them. And that's the opportunity. We've already found the land. We've found the opportunity. So they just show up. One of the reasons why Stewart doesn't start yet is because in the past, they've had many projects where that buyer will come in and say, this is absolutely amazing. Where am I going to put my mother-in-law? You know, I have to have that certain spot, or I have to have the bowling alley. So we're ready to go. We're probably 4 months max within starting that process. But we've really laid it out for that buyer. And so far, they've really appreciated it. And that's interesting to them. So just wanted to talk about value real quick. How quickly those numbers jump up.
Yeah, I don't mean to be cute about risk. It's a good question, but you know, the risk is if obviously we build a $150 million house on spec, then we got a little bit of risk, right? So we're evaluating, you know, the interest, and before we start building, we'll gather more interest. Well, we usually build these houses.
There's a
I
house
don't let
down the
anyone in the
street
house
right
until
now
it's completely done. So I assume that
or less.
volume of risk.
That's
But
for sale.
at this number, it's certainly, if I were to build the house, it's certainly a bigger level of risk.
Yes.
It's a simple question. The asking price is $285 million, but there's a chance that it might go more than that. Correct?
I like your style.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are not selling a home. You guys are selling a lifestyle in a way. So, I mean, $285 million without upgrades. I'm sure there's going to be upgrades.
I'm all for that. I like that. That's good.
So when you mentioned you do your international marketing, which country that you see that they are investing or there is an effective result on the investment?
Honestly, this one's been across the board. This one was Russia, China, Japan. This is across the board on this one. I think because it's so unique. And it's also, as I mentioned, we don't usually get that demographic in Palm Beach County. We usually get local or New York. So it's a little bit across the board right now. I can't pinpoint one yet. We've only been doing it like 45 days. But our market is usually, the bulk of my market in the Palm Beach County is, I would say, New York. We're also seeing a ton of buyers now coming from California. So I've been doing this for 20 years, and I would say over the last, 3 years, I've had more California buyers than I've had my entire career. So that's a huge demographic. We're getting a lot of people in the tech business that are looking, and obviously everybody that looks at this property, we can Google and know who they are. But I would say all overseas is right now across the board, and then New York, California. So.
If I can just say one thing, I just want to have a shout out for Ashley Holland. Where's Ashley? Ashley's handled all the PR. She's done an extraordinary job, and I want to thank her personally. Our team done an extraordinary job.
If anyone needs good PR, you can call Ashley. She's the best. Okay. So huge round of applause. This incredible team.
She's not taking any other designers. Just us.
But But really appreciate you guys. Good luck on the best of sale. I know you guys will get it done. Okay? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Catherine Malinosky. I'm Nick's wife. We just wrapped up at Goldbar, Miami. If you liked our video, check this one out.